We have been talking about the lack of productivity growth in Canada for quite some time, and today RBC published a report about why Canada has been struggling to increase the productivity, the per person growth in this country. And they actually went quite deep in this report, and they actually find out, okay, what are those reasons why Canada is struggling despite of high immigration growth. They are attracting a lot of talent from different parts of the countries, but why Canada is still struggling when it comes to increasing the productivity, which means how we measure the quality of life in Canada. So it was not like this always before, right? Back in 1950s and 60s, Canada was a growing economy. It was growing its productivity, its GDP per capita at a 5% annual growth, okay, up until like 2000. So it was growing just like an advanced economy, G7 countries. But then in 2000, when we used to compare, Canada compared to Australia, the GDP per capita, the per person productivity was almost at par, in 2000 between Canadian and Australian. Today, the Canadians are 10% less productive than Australian. The Australian economy on per person level has grown 50% much faster than Canadians. That's the status today, okay? And Canadians are 30% less productive than the American counterparts. So everything was fine up until 2000, but then since 2000, it has been like trending downwards. And this is not just Trudeau's fault. A lot of people will blame Liberal and Trudeau. Yes, Trudeau's policy has been more devastating, but then it was before Trudeau as well, like Harper's government and before that as well. So since 2000, this has been going on, guys, okay? And this report kind of tell you that, and I'll highly recommend you to go and read this whole report to make sense out of it, to understand, okay, what actually went wrong. So I'm going to summarize this report for you in this video. So basically, what they highlighted, the number one reason why we're seeing the lack of productivity growth in Canada is government regulations, unnecessary red tape. The time it takes to get a permit approved is ridiculously long in Canada. And you have multiple level of governments, right? Federal, provincial, municipal, city level. So each level of government has their own processes, their own regulations, their own requirements. And the time it takes to get a permit approved, not only it increases the time, but it also adds up the cost of the project. So this is one of the main reasons, I think the biggest reason why the investors are not investing into Canada is because they are fed up with the bureaucracy, the lengthy process of getting permits done, the unnecessary regulatory requirements to go through. This wastes a lot of time and cycle and resources and add cost into the project. So that's the number one reason they highlighted. Second reason they highlighted is the business investment. Canadian business and the foreign investment is not coming into the Canada. And the reason is because when you see the output, the return investment is not that great, no business will be able to invest into Canada. So they did the comparison between if you invested $1,000 in Canadian stock exchange, let's say TSX in 2000, okay, this would have been 4,400 by now. Okay, the same $1,000 if you invested in S&P 500 in the US, that would have been $6,000 by now. So a 35% difference of growth compared to Canada versus US. So that really tells you the return investment that the investor can get when they choose between Canada and the US. Okay, so the returns are not there. Okay, so the investment from the business perspective is not going into Canada, and majority of the investment that we have seen going into Canadian businesses is construction, residential real estate, service industries, which doesn't really produce the productivity like mining and manufacturing and engineering type of projects. Oil and gas has been one of the biggest revenue producer for Canada. And it has been helping Canada up until like 2015 when the oil price crashed. And this is the time when actually the investment left or started leaving Canada. Okay, so this actually graph shows you the difference between US and Canada business investment, and we can see how Canada investment fell off the cliff because right after the 2015 oil crash. Okay, Um, and it's picking up. The oil industry is picking up, but now Trudeau and the Liberal government is trying to choke that, using this political ideology of net zero targets. They're trying to basically choke that industry, not letting the capital going into that industry. And mind you, the oil industry is very capital intensive, right? It needs capital to build and expand the machinery and the plants, and it takes years before you can bring that output into the market. It doesn't happen overnight. So if you're not investing into this oil and gas industry right now, you're starving the industry for capital for the next 10 years. Okay, so that's another reason why we are seeing a lack of capital investment into the country, because the main producer of the productivity was oil and gas and minerals and mining. That has been choked by this government for the political ideology. The other thing I highlight is the taxes. So you have seen all the debates about capital gains inclusion tax rate that they have. They're trying to increase it. Definitely, it is going to hurt the foreign investment. Definitely. Why? Because it creates the environment where the investor doesn't have any more confidence on the leadership, that if they are raising taxes left and right, if they're increasing capital gains tax, what are the chances they can further increase those taxes next year or the next 2 years? Okay, this is setting the precedence. Okay, so if I'm the foreign investor and I'm looking for a startup type of a company, should I invest in the US or in Canada? In the US, I have good potential, a lot of opportunities, a lot of investors available to do a JV with me, right? Good resources, high talent available, less taxes. Versus in Canada, we have very small pool of resources. Talent is very, very limited. I'm only limited to span into 3 or 4 maximum cities like Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal or Calgary. And we have so many red tapes to go through, so many regulatory requirements, and the taxes are so high. Where would I invest my $1 million if I wanted to do that? Definitely, I will choose US over Canada. So when you have higher taxes, you're actually pushing the foreign capital away from this country. Okay, so when Trudeau and Freeland is telling you that this is only hurting 0.13% Canadian, that's BS. That's total BS. It's actually going to push the foreign investor away from Canada. I can tell you that. And this report is actually confirming that point as well. Are you a non-US tax resident and looking to open a business in the US? Well, this video is very important for you, so watch it till the end. Basically, if you are a non-US tax resident, which means you don't have SSN, which is your tax identification number, which means when you open a bank account or you open a Stripe account or PayPal account or Amazon business account or any business account, you need your SSN number in order to open any of these accounts in the US. Well, if you are a non-US tax resident, which means you don't have SSN with you, you can have another identification which is called ITIN. So ITIN is similar 9-digit number which is used for tax purposes if you are a non-US tax resident. So whenever you apply for a business account or bank account or payment processing account like PayPal or Stripe or even Amazon FBA seller, or registering a business in the US, you can use ITIN instead of SSN. This will help you to set up all of these things even though you're not a US tax resident. So if you're in Canada, Latin America, Europe, UK, Australia, or anywhere in the world, you can apply for ITIN, and you can use ITIN to register a business, open up the business accounts, open up the payment processing account in the US, and pretty much do all the tax related stuff using ITIN even though you don't have SSN. So how do you get that? Well, there are some companies available on the internet that will help you to get you the ITIN, but they may charge between $400 to $600 per application. We have a company called ITIN, and they are one of the quickest in terms of submitting the application. So they will help you out in terms of collecting the documentation, help you out in terms of answering your questions, and help you out in terms of submitting the application. Now, the typical application process times takes between 4 to 14 weeks, but the ITIN people only take 48 hours to collect the information, help you out in the journey, submit your application, and from that point onwards, it's basically IRS. IRS can take between 2 to 12 weeks depending upon their volume of the applications, But throughout the process, they will handhold you in terms of opening up the accounts, help you to open up the FBA account or Stripe account or PayPal account, or guide you in terms of the entire process. They're pretty quick to respond. They have people speaking English and Spanish and Arabic, and they can give you very competitive rates as well. Plus, if you use my referral link, which will give you extra $50 discount when you purchase their services. So if you are looking to open a business in the US, start your journey today, apply for ITIN. Even though if you're not looking to open a business now, you should have ITIN just in case in the future, if you want to open a business, you're ready from tax standpoint. So check the link in the description below, and let's get back to the video. So very disappointing report, to be honest, and those are the things are reality now, right? So a lot of politicians are trying to play with their sentiment that this is going to help Canadians. Carbon tax and capital gains tax is going to put more money into your pocket. This is all BS. It's going to hurt Canada. It's going to hurt Canadian businesses, and it will also block foreign investment coming into the country. This is not rocket science. This is simple economics and capital management, measuring the risk. Where is the risk and reward when you choose different countries for investment. Anyway, let me know what you think about that. Put your comments down below, and if you need any financial advice when it comes to maintaining your investment portfolio, your retirement planning, your kids' education planning, your estate planning, let me know. I have some partnerships with one of the best financial advisors in this country. I will connect you to them, and they will help you with the best of their advice and knowledge. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I'll see you in my next video.